Hey guys, this is Gene Jensen, and it is time for my MTB Slam for the month of April. This is the Mystery Tackle Box by Cove. And what it is, it's a subscription-based box where you can, for $15 a month, you can get a box full of tackle that's worth somewhere between $25 and $30. So it's pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and dive into the box, make this as quick as I possibly can so I can get in here and catch these fish that are hopefully along the bank during this shad spawn. All right, so the stuff that's in the box, it usually comes with a list with the prices and everything else, and I'll put those prices in that list up here. But it is, the first one is a Montrose Strike Pro jerk bait. Kind of a weird color, but it's for $11.96. Pretty cool. Second one is a Boo Jig from Booyah. They've had these out for a while. Pretty neat little thing, $3.79. It's black and red. The next one is a Slim 6, $3.09. It's by Venom Baits. It's like a speed worm or a swimming worm, whatever you want to call it. I love to flip and pitch these things around cover. The next one is the Flicker Worm by Cove. Looks like that. It's an exclusive color. Kind of looks like a little creek tail worm. Pretty neat. And then last but not least, the Mustad Ultra Point big mouth hooks, which I have these in my box, but mine are grip pin, but we'll throw those on one of those worms. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stuff that's in this box, I'm going to take it out and I'm going to fish with it, and I'm going to teach you everything that I know about each individual bait and kind of give you an instructional or a seminar on all the baits that are in the box, which is, you know, should be pretty cool. So stay tuned. All right, so first of all, the Strike Pro jerk bait. First of all, since it's a new bait, I'm going to throw it in the water and see how it reacts, see if it suspends. It's supposed to suspend. Let's see. It looks like it sinks a little bit. Sinks slow, so that's okay. I'd rather have it sink slow than to float up most of the time. So let's cast it around. I'm going to tell you how I'm fishing it. So to me, the most important piece of equipment when fishing a jerkbait is going to be your rod. You've got to have the right action rod, really. It's what I'm fishing now is a 7-foot medium moderately fast rod, or a medium moderate rod. And to me, that is almost the perfect jerkbait rod. I kind of would want it actually a little bit more flex in the rod than this one has, but this one has a lot. Flexes almost halfway down the entire blank. And so that's what I really want when I put pressure on it, because one, you get a really good jerk. The bait gets the most action. And two, when a fish bites, you can set the hook, you get a good hook set, and it's a better fighting rod. It has a lot more give when the fish is going all over the place, especially smallmouth bass. But I'm fishing for largemouth today. Now, how to fish it. The most critical point of fishing a jerkbait is always give the rod back to the bait. Give it a jerk and point the rod directly straight back at the bait. Fish it on a slack line. You can jerk it really, really hard, or you can try a light pop, a light jerk. But always give the rod back to the bait. And fast, slow, you just kind of do it, you know, until you get bit, and then remember what you were doing, how long you paused, how many jerks you gave it, that kind of stuff. And a lot of times that will tell you what kind of mood the bass are in and whether they're going to bite. This is my favorite technique in the early spring. Water temperatures are still in the 40s and 50s. Now we're up in the 70s, I believe. And so it's 75-degree water temperature. So it's really not ideal for a jerk bait. But when it's really cold, a suspending jerk bait can be absolutely deadly. So that's what I know about a jerk bait. The next bait is the Boo Jig, black and red. I put a little green pumpkin trailer with some red flake in it, red and gold flake. I like green pumpkin trailers on black jigs. I may end up removing some of the red skirt because I think that's a little too bright for what I'm fishing. But I'll leave it like it is for right now. I got somebody else's fishing line. There we go. Got it hung in a tree in somebody else's fishing line. That's okay. Now, the rod I'm fishing this jig on is I've got it on a 7'3" medium heavy jig rod. That's my favorite action jig rod. I don't like a heavy action unless I'm fishing heavy cover. If I've got a medium heavy, I can still drive a good hook home. I can and I have a better fight, you know, when I'm fighting the fish out in open water. It just the more flex in the rod, the better it is at keeping the fish on. And plus, with a medium heavy rod, you don't rip a hole the size of the Grand Canyon in the fish's mouth when you set the hook. Now I've got 20-pound fluorocarbon line on it. Fishing it on an 8:1 gear ratio reel. And yes, that's the new Origin from 1.3. It's not out yet, comes out in July. But there's not really, I mean, not much to say about fishing a jig except for just fish it slow. Of course, what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to get a reaction bite. I'm throwing right up against a bluff wall. And if I was throwing it in the brush, I'd throw it in the brush and I'd bounce it up and down and I'd bring it back in. But I'm fishing a bluff wall, which is really steep. So I'm gonna move the bait as little as I possibly. Oh, I missed it. I wasn't ready for that bite. But was not ready for that bite. I don't think it was a bass. I think it was something else. But and I'm just moving it just a little bit. The bass are going to be real close to that bluff wall, and it drops really steep. So I'm actually only bouncing it an inch, or moving it about an inch or two, so it can just pull out and fall down and pull out and fall down. And that's exactly when I'm going to get bit, is on that fall. Now the reason I'm fishing a bluff wall is because we're in post-spawn conditions. The next thing to spawn on these lakes after the bass are done spawning are the shad. And the shad like to spawn against hard bluff walls or riprap or docks, in green grass, in bushes, anything hard. They love to spawn on something hard. They don't like those muddy banks. So in this lake, I go straight to the bluff walls to check. And I'm early in the morning. It's only an early morning bite. And it's a methodical thing. If I'm fishing a jig, I'm going to go pick each little place apart along this bluff wall. A jig is not ideal to fish a shad spawn. It's not what I would choose, but as you can see, I can get bit doing it. Now this boo jig, if you look at the shape of the head, one thing you gotta look at the shape of the head. First of all, you got a line tie that's vertical. It's straight up and down. It's not horizontal. And so there's certain things you can tell from just having a vertical line tie. That's going to be a really good grass jig. It's going to come through it really good. It may not be a very good heavy cover jig, but it all depends on what you do with the weed guard. Because a lot of times you'll pull that bait up to a bush, and as you're pulling it over and you pull it over real slow, you see that line tie likes to roll that hook over. And that's when you get hung in bushes. I would use this as a grass jig. I'd use it as a hopping jig because it's got a flat bottom. I probably wouldn't use it as a heavy cover jig in the brush. All because of that line tie. I like a horizontal line tie when I'm doing when I'm fishing heavy cover. All right, so one of the key things about a jig, any jig with a big heavy hook, is your hook set. You really want to hammer it home. You want to go over top of one of your shoulders or straight up over your head. It's easier to go over your shoulders because you can get more leverage on it. But you really want to hammer the bait, the hook home when you set the hook. Fish it slow. Most people that are intimidated by jigs are fishing them way too fast. You're imitating mostly a crawfish. When you're imitating a crawfish, you really want to drag it slow. How many crawfish do you see shooting across the water column at 40 miles an hour? You don't. You really just want to crawl it. And that's basically what I'm doing with this. You just make it cast out. Like I said, I'm fishing a bluff wall, so it's a really steep bank. So I want to get as close to the bank as I possibly can. Skip it up underneath there. Let it fall down till it stops falling. Watch my line the whole time, and I'm just moving it literally an inch. Letting it fall again. Move it another inch. Give it slack again so it can fall straight down. Move it another inch. And that's all I'm doing. And I'm feeling for a bite every single time. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to bite on that fall because you just dropped it down in front of them and they're like, ooh, and they grab it. So, and that's kind of the basics of fishing a jig. Let's see what's next. Kind of wish I had caught a fish on it. All right, so the next one is the Slim 6 by Venom Baits. And this is kind of a black smoke colored paddle tail worm. I Texas rigged it. I put that Mustad Ultra Point hook on it, which are my favorite hooks. I love Ultra Point hooks. The tips don't roll. And nothing ticks me off more than setting the hook on a big fish, missing the fish, bringing it in, and the tip had rolled on the hook set and never penetrated. So I don't have to worry about that with Mustad hooks. I like paddle tail worms like this because they have a lot of action on the fall. You can cast them and swim them. They work well through grass, anything like that. It's one of my favorite style of baits. I have different types that I use. I use the little cut sickle tail type, like right here. I'll go to just a kicking worm, like a rage, what do they call it? Cutter worm, that kind of stuff. It just all depends on what I got in the boat. And but I really do like them. I like pitching them around cover. I like flipping them into grass. I like swimming them along the grass. They just work really well. I've gained a lot of confidence in them over the years. But a Texas rig, pretty simple. I'm fishing this on 15-pound fluorocarbon. It's a medium 7.3 medium heavy rod. It's a fast action rod. 5/16 ounce weight. This is, I think, a 3/0 hook and a 8:1 gear ratio reel, which anytime I'm fishing flipping baits and bottom bouncing baits, anything like that, I want an 8:1 gear ratio reel for a couple of reasons. One, like what just happened a minute ago with that jig, a fish bites and comes at the boat, and you got to catch up to him really quick and set the hook. I was too busy talking and wasn't paying attention to what the fish was doing, so I didn't realize he was already swimming towards the boat. But the rod is critical. You got to have enough backbone to set the hook, but you don't have to hammer it home on a 3/0 hook. You just kind of set the hook. Kind of a moderately hard hook set. And the thing I love about a Texas rig, and I would rather throw a Texas rig than just about anything, is that you can do anything with it. And it goes into heavy cover. And I mean, no matter where you're fishing, if you're fishing a target like a bluff wall or cracking a bluff wall or bush or stuff like that, you can flip it right in there and not worry about it getting hung up very much, and really spend a whole lot of time picking apart an area. And a bass is more likely to bite a soft plastic most of the time than a hard bait, at least for me, you know, unless they're in the mood to chase. And like today with the shad spawn going on, they really they'd rather have hard baits, but I feel like I can pick one up here and there with the baits that are in this box. I'm just flipping it up against the bluff wall like I was the jig. And if I was fishing like a brush pile, there's a couple of trees and laydowns coming in up here, and I'll show you how to do it. But if I was fishing a bluff wall or a brush pile, you know, I'd spend a little bit more time picking that little brush pile apart. Because a bass, brush pile is pretty thick. And if you throw over here and the bass is over here, it may see your bait, but it's not going to want to work its way around the limbs in the brush pile to get to it. You know, they're lazy. And so you really want to make multiple casts at a brush pile. When I say multiple, anywhere from 10 to 50, you know, until you feel like you've worked that whole brush pile out really well. So I'm going to work up here to this tree, and I'm going to kind of talk you through it. That was a bluegill. How do I know that was a bluegill? Because when a bluegill bites, it feels like somebody's got a jackhammer on the end of your line. And so, but wherever the bluegill are, 9 times out of 10, the bass aren't far away. You see that tree that's coming down right here? It looks really, really old, but I promise you, what's under the water is quite a bit of what's left of that tree, especially on this bluff wall, because it'll sink straight down and it'll get down deep and it won't rot quite so quick. So my favorite thing to do is I throw in there and I'll shake it down at the bottom, and I'll hop it a couple of times, and I'll drag it up till I hit a limb. And when I hit that limb, I don't immediately want to try to pull the bait over top of the limb. I actually bang the weight up against the limb multiple times. So just kind of flip it over there, work it down that tree limb or that tree trunk, Go really slow, and then when I get to a limb, it's literally, I bring it up to the limb, and I just pop, 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 and I let it fall back down, pop, 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 let it fall back down. A lot of times you got a bass just staring at your bait and really won't commit, but man, that erratic, crazy action of banging it up against the limb and letting it fall back down and banging it up against the limb, it'll get them to bite. It'll make them bite. I mean, I don't know how many times I've gotten bit while just sitting here popping it up against a limb on a tree. And a lot of times, human nature, you want to, okay, I'm snagged. I got to pop it over top of it to make sure I'm not snagged. No, don't do that. Get in that tree and beat the crap out of the limb and get that bass to bite. And then you will be happy that you started doing that. That's one of the biggest things that boosted my confidence in the Texas rig 4, 5, 6 years ago, however many years ago I started doing it, was banging it up against that limb. Very key. But that's a Texas rig. I'm gonna make a couple more casts. There's a stump right up here on the bank. I wanna try to hit it. Last but not least is the Cove flicker worm. And it looks a lot like the creek tail worm. Has a little tail just like a creek tail worm. Really, really good shaky head worm. Only problem is I didn't bring any shaky heads with me. I just got off of a kayak trip and I accidentally left my box of jig heads in my kayak box. But the way I've got it rigged is I've got it Texas rigged. I've got an 1/8 ounce weight on it and a really little mustad grip pin hook. Let me see if I can show you guys. And it's a little 1/0 mustad straight shake grip pin hook. And I really like these with finesse style baits. I'm fishing it on a spinning rod, a medium light action spinning rod, 10-pound test fluorocarbon. And so I want everything to be nice and small. This is a really good bait, a really good rig when the bite is tough and when you're just trying to force feed fish that don't typically want to feed. It just looks like a real easy meal. And what I like to do with it is, because it's a Texas rig, but this is one that I like to drag and shake. I'm fishing it really, really slow. So I'll throw it up and I got a little point that sticks out from this bluff wall. Right here, I got a little point that sticks out. And I drag it and I'm literally just inching this worm along. And it is ideal for, let me do that, there we go. It's ideal for that really, really tough bite. I'm gonna fish it a lot like a shaky head. And even though that worm is laying on the ground, it's still, that when you shake it, that tail is still popping up and down just a little bit. It just wiggles really, really good no matter what, with that extra buoyant and extra little bit of plastic on the end of that tail. And so I'm just gonna fish it really, really, really slow. With a shaky head, this weight is good. With it's a really good wacky rig worm. A little bit harder to cast when it's weightless, just because it doesn't have any weight to it. So I'd throw it on a spinning rod, but it really is a tough one to cast. But man, it can tear them up with a wacky rig. All right, so like I've said already, is I'm fishing like the shad are spawning. I'm finding these bluff walls, these rocks, and these real shallow rocks. What the shad do in the morning is they come along the bank and along boat docks and just hard cover, and they basically, they spawn there. They'll start fluttering and flicking and hitting their bodies up against the side of these hard pieces of cover. One of my favorite things to do in a big lake is fish the pontoons on a pontoon boat, but the bass will follow them. I mean, they're sitting there spawning, so it makes a really easy target or easy meal for a bass. And so early in the morning, the bass are just going to be, gorging themselves on these shad. And then as the sun comes up, it's usually only about an 1.5 to 2 hour bite. As the sun comes up and hits the water, the shad bite basically dies. Those bass are full, they move out, they suspend for the rest of the day. It's really one of those bites where you need to be here early in the morning, fish it hard, and then go finesse style from then on out and try to pick up the ones that aren't keyed in on the on the shad spawn. But I'm staying close to this bluff wall. And the reason I chose this bluff wall is it's really close to, I think I got somebody's fishing line, really close to the deepest water. I mean, I'm in 24 feet of water. It's some of the deepest water in the lake. And it makes it really easy for the bass to move in and move out and be safe. Well, if you're interested in the mystery tackle box, you can sign up and get your very first box for $4.99. I'll put the coupon code right up here. Any of the rods or reels or anything that I used in this video, I'm going to put links to them down in the description. And man, mystery tackle box is a great way of introducing yourself to brand new baits. It's like Christmas every single month. So if you're interested in it, be sure to check it out. Click on the link down below, like I said. And but like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water, go out and catch some fish. Have a great day.